What the hell is happening, Juiceheads? We are live here as we are doing our first ever 4-hour drink along live stream. Because in order to watch the product this day and age, you got to drink. So, Juiceheads, let me know what you're drinking in your comments. Similar to when we do What's Trending, when we do What's Trending Live Happy Hour, it's a good time for all to be had. And I actually have the means to pipe in Fox and TNT into this stream. I'm not going to do that because this channel already has a strike against it. I'm sure there's a way to beat the AI and the algorithm to do that. So you just have to watch me and you don't have to suffer through everything, but we'll suffer together. All right, we got a lot going on tonight. It's the go home show before SummerSlam. It's supposed to be a big deal that Smackdown's on Fox, even though the ratings are not performing. But I am rocking the Rock hat. I'm ready to go. After that, we have Rampage at the United Center in Chi-Town. Great town, lovely town. I've been there. I can vouch for that. And we'll see who does or doesn't show up. But yeah, I haven't done a wrestling show in a while. We sort of put the podcast on a hiatus. So a little update for all you juice heads out there. This channel will be converted into strictly just uncommon sense. The Juice Giorgio Network will be no more. But don't worry, juice heads. Don't fret. Because we're not going anywhere. We're just getting started. As a matter of fact, we're approaching our 1-year anniversary. So what better way to celebrate the 1-year anniversary than to actually expand the operation? So this channel is going to be converted to the Uncommon Sense channel. And because I really haven't been around for a while, really just due to my real life job situation, I started a new job a couple months ago. And I'm not going to lie, juice heads, it's been the most intense job I've ever had. And it's work from home, which in a way makes it even more tiring being inside and going stir crazy all fucking day. The creative process for me, everybody has a different process, whether you want to call this creative or not. But my creative process, I need to get out. I need to get to the gym. I need to be outside, walk around in the park, run a couple laps, whatever. But being in home from sunrise to sunset, it's hard. It's hard without my partner. So I do want to thank Angry Steve and the Fat Jew. Without them, Uncommon Sense wouldn't be where it is. We have 64 followers, which, hey, when I started doing this channel a year ago, I didn't think I'd break a dozen. So this channel, I'm very proud. We went from 0 to 64. And we're going to do, the channel's going to be called JGS 2. Or did I fuck that up? JGNS 2. That's going to be the name of the channel because it'll be season 2. So I do have, it's 8 o'clock. I do have Smackdown on in the background, so you may or may not be able to hear it. I have no idea. I haven't done a sound check, but we'll see how the audio of this comes out. And, I guess that's a local commercial for Super Smackdown Live at the Garden. Interesting. I went to a couple of those on the original brand split at the Meadowlands in the old arena. It used to be called the Bread and Burn Arena. Then it was the Continental Airlines Arena. I've talked about SummerSlam 97 many times. Who hasn't, right? Very, very historic event because without SummerSlam 97, Austin's career probably goes another 10 years than it went. And who knows what that would have meant for the bottom line for business. Probably would have never drifted into the shit that it is now. What's going on here with this thing over here? So they're in Phoenix, Arizona. They have some sort of a animated drone. Looks very nice. Let's see if this coil works. Hey, we're in business. vape-wise, we're in business. We got Edge, who honestly, I never saw this coming. And I was really never the biggest fan of his on his first run. I liked him in '98. Loved his music. I thought he had some kick-ass fucking music back in '98. And there's really not many people I believe in as now a 30-year fan of this genre, of this sports entertainment, whatever. And I'm especially not super big on the WWE. Another reason why I haven't done a wrestling podcast in a while. Now you could say, yeah, I could do one on GCW. I could do AEW. But there's so many people covering it. And again, I'm not a wrestling news guy. I'm not a Raw review guy. There's already people for that. Solo Monster does a great job every Sunday. You got the Podfather, Don Tony. He comes on after Raw. That's his signature thing. And I believe he does Friday nights now as well. You got the Soup guys. You got KC on the Don Tony Patreon. I'm not trying to be them or be like them or with my one viewer right now compete with them. I'm just trying to have a good time. I'm trying to make wrestling fun again, as the Nation of Domination would say, by any means necessary. And nothing, just say I just had a chubby for Edge coming to the ring, like a nice wrestling chubby, not a hard on, but just a chub, like a nice little chub. Now we got to do a stupid fucking recap. A stupid pre-packaged recap. Why? Why Kevin Dunn? Why? Right? That's the right guy. That's the guy that runs the show, right? Kevin Dunn. I mean, ultimately, we know everything goes through Vince. But these recaps have seriously got to go. And I watched like the last two Raws, and I haven't watched Raw since like the WrestleMania, like since within a month of WrestleMania. They'll recap, like, I don't know how many segments there are in 1 hour. Say there's 4 segments an hour. They did a recap of segment 1 for like segment 2 and segment 3 and segment 4. Are they not aware people have fucking DVRs by now or whatever? I have YouTube TV, which has built-in DVR. Even when I was a kid in the 90s, I would record every Raw. I mean, there's a difference. On a VHS cassette tape, you couldn't just keep recording and rewind. But if I missed something after Raw ended at like 11 or 10 or whenever it happened to end, I could just hit rewind. And, I understand they got to fill time. I get it. Look at me. I just committed myself to filling 4 fucking hours for my juice ads for this special Smackdown and Rampage drink-along. But do we really need this guy that won't admit he's a televangelist that looks just like a televangelist? Do we really need to see a recap? Well, this is news for me. So we have Edge and Rollins at SummerSlam in my home away from home, Las Vegas, which explains why they would be in Arizona tonight. I think that's going to be a good match. I don't care who wins. I don't think there's any belts up for grabs. And here we have Edge on the chair. Let's listen in. Let's see if this works. I'm curious. I'm gonna do an experiment. Let's see. I'm curious. I'm gonna do an experiment. Up. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see what goes on here.
Seth,
I'm curious. I'm gonna do an experiment.
But more importantly, I heard what you said. I really heard.
Okay, it works. It ain't that clear, but
your boot on the back of my neck.
I think I know how to fix that.
Mashed into that Money in the Bank briefcase. I know it was 2014, but I still feel it like it was yesterday. And I'll be honest, I was worried. I was worried about my way of life. I was worried about my wife. I was worried about my kids. And
very emotional promo from Edge here.
Threatened all of those same things again. Very emotional promo from Edge. Now, I know what that curb stomp can do to me. I do have a triple fusion in my neck.
Whoa. Edge just said curb stomp. I thought that was a no-no. I just thought it was the stomp.
It affects my...
He might get fined for that one.
It affects my ability to be the father that I need to be.
So right here we see Edge, and again, I really haven't been watching the product too much. I think he had a little bit of a feud with Randy Orton, which got personal with his family. I guess his last feud was with Roman Reigns over the belt, which I'm not sure how personal that got, but now he's going back to, like, you know, the personal thing. Obviously, we know it's not him, it's the writers. It's not really all these guys got. So he's saying, like, how he couldn't perform for his family and this, that, the other. Again, with all the creative people they have, I just wish they'd be a little more fucking creative. But let's go back to Edge. I do like the guy. I have a lot of respect for him.
Man, you have pushed me into a dark place. You have pushed me into a place that I don't like to go because it is so hard to come back. And because, if I'm being truthful, it's because I like it. You have made me find a place in my heart where the blood runs black.
Alright, you know, Edge is pretty good at cutting that fucking scathing promo. I like it.
See, I do see clearly on this day.
Wow.
I see.
Never heard him reference that.
I don't just have to beat you. Wow. I have to break you. I have to humble you.
So we have the televangelist against the really pissed off guy. All right.
At SummerSlam, I am going to burn you down.
All right, not bad. Not bad. All right. I do not want Michael Cole. I do not want Michael Cole's fucking disgusting voice on my podcast. All right, that's not a bad promo. Again, knowing nothing about SummerSlam, not knowing the matches, as we go backstage to Ray and Dominic. The only thing I really know about SummerSlam, honestly, is that Cena's coming back to face Roman. And I know they had, like, a random, like, non-Big Four pay-per-view match that nobody cared about or nobody kind of remembers, but it was a decent program, I guess. It was like, I guess it was like the small window that they had to work with Cena, and everybody knows that Roman Reigns is like the new Cena. So it's too bad I really haven't been watching too much wrestling, especially SmackDown lately. So I missed out on all the Cena stuff. And Cena, talk about a love-hate relationship. When he first broke into the business let me rephrase that. When he first made the main roster back in 2002, as the Mysterios are coming out to the ring, I have no idea what they're fucking doing at SummerSlam, if anything. Because the Mysterios are like, they could be the semi-main event at WrestleMania, and by semi-main event, I mean not the real semi-main event, but like the match slotted before the main event. They could be anywhere from that to the pre-show to what this year they did was, like, they had SmackDown WrestleMania matches, and I think that's what they were delegated to this year. But these guys could be anywhere on the card. Like, they would fit fucking anywhere. And I heard Pat McAfee actually. I don't know him, but I hear great things about him. And next week, when I don't do a drink along, or maybe I will, but I'm looking forward to hearing his commentary because I heard he does a great job. But back to Cena, when he made the main roster for the first time back in 2002, he was just generic, boring, and by his own admission, he was going to get cut from the fucking roster at some point. He was like the ruthless aggression guy. And I believe at the time SmackDown was on Thursday, and it was on from 8 to 10, locally here in the New York area. I'm not in New York, I'm in Jersey, but I get the New York stations. So it was Channel 9 UPN, and I would work my high school job. Sometimes I wouldn't get home till like 10 o'clock when SmackDown was over, and I didn't have a DVR for SmackDown. I didn't have... Even before DVRs, you could set a timer on your VCR to record something, but I was good just watching Raw. Like, whatever. Like, that was my fix. Like, I didn't need a second show. And to an extent, I still feel the same way, which is why most weeks I just end up watching AEW only. But, you can only, even a fan like me that's been a fan for a few decades, there's only so much wrestling I have time to watch, and there's only so much wrestling I want to watch. But anywho, I noticed he was catching some fucking traction when he started doing the George thing, and he started dressing like Turtle from Entourage, depending on what town he was in, and he started doing the rapping, like Eminem, Vanilla Ice fucking kind of thing. And he got fucking white hot really over really quickly. And I remember going to WrestleMania 20, and the three most over people at WrestleMania 20 were, in no particular order, Chris Benoit. He was super fucking over. Because I was in that arena, and I couldn't believe how over Chris Benoit was. Because I thought he was a great in-ring worker. I didn't think he could cut a promo worth a damn. Not putting him down. Dude, I was never a wrestler, so I'm just saying this as a fan, just my opinion. Just my opinion. And obviously what he did is unspeakable in 2007, but I thought as an in-ring talent he was awesome. Like, he could... One of my favorite matches of all time is Mr. Perfect versus Bret Hart from SummerSlam 91 for the Intercontinental title. He could easily... I think he wrestled Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 17. I'm not sure if that was for the... No, Jericho was in the Intercontinental title match that night. But that match, I think, parallels that SummerSlam 91 match a lot. So in terms of his in-ring work, awesome. Totally awesome. Was always in great shape. Just not mentally, apparently. But anywho, I just couldn't believe how fucking over this guy was. The next guy that was super fucking over, Eddie Guerrero. And again, a surprise to me in a way. Not that he didn't deserve to be over, not that he wasn't a great worker. And Eddie had, in 2004, he was definitely at the top of his game. He had all the tools. His physique was fucking sick. He had the belt. He had the cool entrance. He had the really cool gimmick. I lie, I cheat, I steal. And he was just a super entertaining fucking guy. And he was fucking white hot over. And then the other guy, and Cena actually opened it, he was the curtain jerker. And again, and I've said this before on other wrestling podcasts, Cena curtain jerking, I don't care if you're Cena curtain jerking, I don't care if you're Nails curtain jerking, I don't care if you're Owen Hart, Bret Hart, who have curtain jerked together. I don't give a fuck if you're Duke the Dumpster Droese or Shawn Michaels or Stone Cold Steve Austin or The Rock. Curtain jerking at WrestleMania is one of the most important things you can do for that company all year. That's like, if there's a night you want a fucking curtain jerk, it's WrestleMania. And then if there's a second night you want a curtain jerk, it's SummerSlam. If there's a third night, Rumble. And if there's a fourth night, Survivor Series. That's it. Any other night is any other night. But those events, especially Mania. Again, more unsolicited commercials we see here on Friday Night SmackDown Live, because what else would we expect from the WWE? So it looks like the Usos are going to square off against the Mysterios, which should be a cool match. Are the Usos... Oh, they're the tag team champions. So, like, are they heels again now? Because, like, the one keeps getting fucking DUIs. He doesn't know how to fucking use Uber or something. What's going on there? Hey, you know what? I have no problem as long as he doesn't hurt anybody or himself. But it's like, dude, you're in the mainstream. You're on fucking network TV on a weekly basis. You can't tell me there's no way for you to have Uber or Lyft. I fucking use it almost every week. Shit, I use it almost more than once every week. And I'm a nobody. I'm a guy on YouTube with one viewer. So thank you, Juice said, for joining us. Anywho, it looks like one of the Usos here, I think he said Jay Uso, and I don't even know which one's one that gets the DUIs. It should just be DUI Uso and fucking the other one. And why doesn't his brother fucking DD for him? What kind with twin brothers like that, who needs enemies? Shit. So, I guess the WWE's way of retaining Rey Mysterio was slotting Dominic into the main roster. And, there's a word for that. Fuck, I forget the word. It's not meritocracy. Meritocracy would be like if I broke my ass and got an offer from the Performance Center and made it to the main roster on my own. But there's a word. We got time here. What the hell is that word? When you get a job through family. Nepotism. You know what's funny? I typed in that into Google, and then the word just popped into my head. But again, don't hate the player, hate the game. If you don't have the tools to stay on TV, you ain't going to stay on TV. Now, if Ray were to leave and Dominic were to stay, I don't know how long Dominic would last on his merit. But we've seen a lot of second, maybe even third generation superstars come and go very quickly. So, and we've also seen the Bret Harts of the world and the Randy Ortons of the world, so you just never fucking know. You just really don't know how someone's going to pan out. My only issue with Dominic, and it's not personal, and I'm happy for him. Dude, I wish he's got to be, 23, 24? I wish I was on the main roster at... Shit, I'm 36. I wish I was on the main roster. But I'm happy for him. I don't hate here. I appreciate. So I'm happy for the dude. I hope he's banking it and just being smart with it. I'm sure he is. And I'm sure his father has a nice hefty estate either way. But from everything I hear, which is nothing, to me that's a good sign. If you hear nothing about somebody, right, that's got to be a good sign. So obviously, like, he's got to be a decent guy, keeps himself out of trouble, unlike this fucking Uso in the ring. And I mean that with all due respect. I didn't mean, oh, this fucking Uso, because that could be misconstrued very easily. So let's see. Let's pretend to be a commentator here. Oh, Ray with the springboard to the outside knocks down both Usos. Yeah, and the crowd is going wild as Dominic now enters the ring in his street clothes. I do like the Mysterio design shirt. It looks like the Wu-Tang Clan logo on his shirt, but it says Mysterios. That's a shirt I actually might fucking buy because I'm a fan of Rey Mysterio. Dominic hasn't earned my fandom quite yet. However, if you do want to count the angle he was in with Eddie Guerrero, you could technically say I'm a Dominic fan. So there is that. There is that. So, you know what? I might already be a fan of Dominic. Yeah. as we go to commercial break. You know, Jim Ross is right, man. These commercial breaks really fucking suck in the middle of a match, especially when they were just starting to get the action going. I was here telling you my point of view about Dominic. Then I had to break out into the commentary as some action finally broke out. And now I'm watching commercials for pizza and Discovery cards. So what does that tell you about wrestling fans? They like to eat pizza and rack up credit card debt. That's the message I get. I fit the description of a wrestling fan perfectly. So, where was I with the Usos? They're looking good. They're looking good. And talk about second generation wrestlers. Obviously, their father is Rikishi, who's a known trainer and a school owner in his own right. So these guys are very well versed in the language of pro wrestling. And I think, if not both of them, at least one of them was like out of high school or out of college, like fucking moving furniture or something, like moving office furniture. That was like a worse job than what I had. So I'm definitely happy to fucking see the guys make something of themselves. And the one that gets the DUIs a lot, it is what it is. Just don't fucking hurt anybody or yourself. Or most importantly, get caught. Or how about most importantly, just don't fucking do it. That one I don't get. If this somehow, some way ever reached them as I'm enjoying my cocktails, just get a fucking ride, bro. No big deal. We've all been there. You're probably making more money than me, and if I could afford an Uber, you could afford an Uber. And I think they live in like the Pensacola, Florida area, which has to be a way, 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 way less expensive in terms of cost of living area than here. It's outrageously expensive to live here. It's so rated. I'm looking at fucking Pensacola to move to because it's so fucking expensive here. It's not even worth it. I won't even tell you what they took out of my paycheck today. It was insane. Or maybe I should you know what, Juice Heads? I'm going to tell you. Let's just put it this way. After taxes, and I do, put some in 401k and some in stocks, I didn't even clear 50% of my fucking paycheck. Can you imagine? Can you fucking imagine? It's unreal. It's unreal. I should have been a pro wrestler. I feel like I say that every fucking pro wrestling podcast. But let's see what we got here. I believe this is Jey Uso with the cover 1, 2, and just a 2. Just a 2. If you ever go to a show, got to put the 2 up. You have no choice. It's just the way it is. Dominic on the outside cheering his father on. So let's see how many segments this match goes. So far we're on, I guess, the second segment. Or they might have even done a commercial break between the entrance and the actual start of the match. So I think this is actually the third segment of the match, which is really weird. Like, why would you want to break it up like that? I think that's a little fucking crazy. I just saw one Juice said jump in and jump right out. I think he got confused. I think he wants to actually stay in. All right, so we got Mysterio now fighting his way off on the top rope, on the shoulders of the Usos. Oh! Hurricanrana from the top rope, baby. That should be it. You would think that would be it. We got a 1, a 2, and just a 2. Just a 2. It's alright. We're going to show a replay, though. I mean, that's pretty goddamn impressive. I would not want to either give that or take. Wait, I would not want to perform that. Like, give it or take it. That shit. If pile drivers are banned, I don't know how that's not banned. And I've said this a million times. I was there when pile drivers were banned. Not cool. Not cool. And the thing about that pile driver, and Austin talks about it on his podcast, he was talking to Owen backstage, and it was something to the effect of, are we going knee down or ass down Meaning, is the bottom of my head going to be at your knees, like a front forward pile driver? Or is my head going to hit the mat with your ass on the ground, like the way Owen ended up doing it? And that's the way Owen ended up doing that, which is fine, but that's the much more dangerous of the two pile drivers. And he miscalculated Austin's head by, even if it was 1/8 of an inch, it was 1/8 of an inch too much. And you really just can't help think about the what ifs. And he stuck around for a couple of years, right? He was the commissioner for Raw, or co-commissioner with Bischoff, and he had his shtick with the quad. And again, to go back to WrestleMania 20, he was the only thing over in that Goldberg-Brock Lesnar match. And he was the only entertaining part about it. And he stunned both their asses out of the company because, as we know, Brock went on to the Vikings, or attempted to, gave it a shot. He was the 54th guy out of 53, which is pretty goddamn impressive if he didn't play college football. Because people that don't play college football just don't walk on to NFL teams. That's just not a thing. And Brock Lesnar almost did it. And then Goldberg went on to just be Goldberg. I couldn't tell you what the fuck he did after WrestleMania 20. But his first run was awful in the WWE, and I think The Rock was partially responsible for bringing him in. I think the program with him and Rock was pretty decent back in 2003, as we see now Mysterio setting up Uso for the 6-1. Oh, 619 got countered. And Mysterio recounters with a sunset flip from the outside of the ring, which is pretty unique. Dominic showing some athleticism, trying to help his father win, cheating behind the back. I like it. I approve. But the problem is, just like Mr. Uso with the DUI, he got caught, and now he's getting ejected by Mr. Robinson. Mr. Charles Robinson, still involved in the WWE. He's got to be one of the most tenured officials by now, you would think. And fucking, oh my god, the other Uso just decked Dominic out of nowhere. That shit looked real. That shit looked like it hurt. Alright. Now we got, I'm just going to call him Jey Uso, whoever is the one in the match. And he is going for the win. Which is, not hard to figure out because the Mysterios got distracted. So that's been like the WWE's formula and MO for the last decade plus. Whoever is distracted seems to lose within like 15 to 20 seconds of said distraction. And it's just so uncreative. Now, I don't know what's happening at SummerSlam. Let's check in with Pat McAfee. Let's see what he has to say.
Page, massive night for the Mysterio family come less than 24 hours from now. Hard luck loss for the Mysterios tonight, and another hard luck loss last week for Baron Corbin. Kayla Braxton caught up with him at
Baron.
I sort of like this fucking Baron Corbin poor gimmick. Let's see what they have to say. Cheers. Oh, look at that. Baron didn't say anything.
absconded with a Money in the Bank briefcase. And remember what's inside, a contract.
But I don't know exactly how these things work. I guess he's coming to the ring. He's coming to the ring with the briefcase. I'm not like the end-all be-all with pro wrestling knowledge, but especially current day pro wrestling knowledge. But as far as I know, you can't just steal a briefcase, a Money in the Bank briefcase. Like, that's not, like, that just doesn't happen. And we actually have a special guest on the fucking Smackdown and Rampage DrinkAlong extravaganza. We have Angry Steve.
What's up?
Angry Steve, what the fuck is going on? Give me a second, I have to mute the TV. Angry Steve, what's going on, man?
Not too much. What's happening, Juice?
And let me just...
It can only be Angry Steve on the other show.
Alright, let me just do a little echo cancellation here.
Yep.
Alright, now we're good. Yeah, so I have the wrestling on half my screen, and I have the StreamYard on the other half of my screen.
Nice.
And when it's appropriate, I pipe into the wrestling sound, and then I do all the rest.
There you go.
So
what's going on in the wrestling world?
So give me, just throw out any name of any wrestler.
I mean, listen, the wrestlers that I'm growing up with, right? Because I'm like, an old dinosaur born in the 1900s.
And what are you drinking tonight? Because this is a drink along. Because wrestling is so bad in 2021, you have to drink in order to watch it.
Well, I'm not watching it, but I'm not drinking. I got a big road trip tomorrow morning, so we'll just leave it at that.
All right, we will just leave it at that.
Yeah, but wrestlers that I grew up with, right, were like Hulk Hogan, right? Rowdy Piper, Andre the Giant. Then came later. Was like the Undertaker, the Buzzsaw Brothers. The Buzzsaw Brothers, right? Yeah, all those different. Randy Macho Man Savage. That was like later.
So, because I'm sure you're aware that there's the WWE Network, right?
Yeah.
It's like Netflix, but it's WWE.
Okay.
And they put their pay-per-views on it now, too. So instead of ordering the pay-per-view, you subscribe your $9.99 to the network, and the pay-per-views are included with your subscription.
Okay, so now this is like streaming service number 612 you need to purchase in order to just watch TV.
And to make it even more complicated, they just sold it to NBC's streaming service called Peacock.
Okay.
For like something stupid like $5 billion.
Right. So, I mean, you're going to
have... now, I had to cancel my WWE Network subscription because it's obsolete. It doesn't work anymore. And I had to subscribe to Peacock to get the same fucking thing. But I will tell you, I'm spending the same $9.99 on Peacock, and I'm getting a shit ton more content. So actually, I won. The consumer won on this one.
Right. But so what's going to happen is that, there can't be 42 different streaming services that you have to pay $20 a month.
And the thing is, too, the $5 billion deal was just like a lease. Like, they don't own it. It's like it'll expire, I think, I think it's like $1 billion a year.
Right. It's like Howard Stern, where Sirius paid a billion dollars for him to join the thing, and then he has to renew his contract and he gets another $1 billion.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I just noticed your name is just Steve tonight. No,
it's just Steve, man. It can't be Angry Steve. One, I'm in pre-vacation, Steve, so I'm all relaxed. And, work is done. I don't have any work for, until a week, entire week off. We're shutting the phone off.
Good for you.
Yeah. So there's that, right? And then, this isn't the political show, so I'm not angry.
There you go. I will tell you something, and we're going to get back to Piper in a second here. I think someone made a mistake because I got my first commission check today, and the federal government took over 20% out of it. Is that you think that might be a mistake?
Nope. That's light. So I can tell you that I pay about 30%, 27 to 30% in taxes out of my incomes and bonuses and stocks. The government just reaches their hand in, says, you know what, you did a good job. I'm taking my cut.
All right. Well, we're not going to get too political on the show. I like to keep the show to whatever it is.
Yeah, right.
So we'll talk more about that another time. But it is something I brought up earlier because I was talking about this tag team. They're from the Pensacola, Florida area. And I was talking about how I might as well move down there because cost of living is much cheaper than this neck of the woods. These necks of the woods. Anyway, I was just watching on the streaming service do you remember the show Saturday Night's Main Event on NBC?
Yes.
When SNL would take a Saturday off, there'd be a WWF special show. But there was a show one night where it was Hogan versus Andre for the belt, and there was an imposter referee that did a fake 1, 2, 3 count, and they made Andre the champ, and it was this big fucking spectacle and controversy.
because he was so angry because it wasn't real. I remember that.
Because at the time Hogan had been champ for 4 years.
Yeah, continuously.
And then what happened was they kept the belt on Andre, and then Andre sold the belt to the $1 Million Man.
Yes, the $1 Million Man.
And
And
then
was that Bret Michaels, or was Bret Michaels and the $1 Million Man?
no, the $1 Million Man was Ted DiBiase.
Right, and then there was Bret Michaels, also was another wrestler.
No, you're thinking of Bret the Hitman Hart, and then the Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, see, listen, you're unlocking a piece of like my inner childhood that, like, it kind of is dormant up there.
Yeah. So what happened was they had like a commissioner.
Yeah.
And the commissioner, his name was Jack Tunney, and he was like, even though Andre won the belt with like a fake referee, we're going to let that stand. However, you cannot sell the belt to another superstar. Therefore, at WrestleMania 4 at the Trump Plaza in Atlantic City, we're going to have a tournament. Trump hosted 2 WrestleManias, bro.
Yeah.
Back to back.
Yeah.
In AC.
At the
convention center.
AC went from like, it was really a special thing back in the 80s, right? All the casinos opened up. Everybody would go down there. You couldn't just go in the casino dressed like you normally are, right? You have to get all dressed up like to the nines, and people would go there, and it would be like a big thing. And then, then it became a crack den, and now it's like,
Yeah, no,
heroin your slot machines.
And again, this is a wrestling podcast, and I know a lot of wrestling fans, like half of them probably love Trump, half of them probably hate Trump, but Trump's a WWE Hall of Famer. And look, whether you love him or hate him, the guy did fucking host 2 WrestleManias in a row. And to this day, there's been 37 WrestleManias. Never has WrestleMania been in the same venue for 2 years in a row. Only fucking Trump did that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He was an entertainer, right? First. And that's that he promoted AC with the, what do you call it? They had all the kinds of events. They had the boxing, the wrestling.
Yeah, Tyson down there.
Yeah.
It was almost like, Vegas on the East Coast.
So now on your wrestling, right? Let me ask you a question, right? How much of wrestling, as a big fan of wrestling, right? How much of wrestling do you think is actually fighting, and how much is acting?
See
and
that?
When do you think that percentage changed to 100% acting? So let me put it to you that way. Or was it always 100% acting?
Okay, so I'm going to replace the words acting and fighting with like they actually have their own version of those words, and it's shoot and work. So work means fake and shoot means real.
Okay.
So when wrestling was like at its peak in terms of ratings and popularity, the crowd never knew if something was a work or a shoot.
Yes. Correct.
So when the lines were blurred, which the way it is now, it ain't going to happen. But they used to do a really good job of blurring the lines. I'll give you an example. This is from like 96, probably late 96, early 97.
Okay.
You probably were not watching, but I was in middle school at the time. Have you ever heard of Stone Cold Steve Austin?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
All right. So he was doing this thing called an angle. So an angle is basically like, it means like 2 guys are feuding and they're angling towards each other to eventually have like a match.
Yeah.
All right. So they had a film crew follow him to Cincinnati, Ohio. He was like in a feud with this guy, Brian Pillman, who actually died a couple years later. He was only like 30, I think, 5 when he died.
Oof.
But he had a bad heart. He might have abused painkillers, but he was supposed to die when he was like a kid. Like he wasn't even supposed to make it to like adulthood.
Right.
But anyway, he's fucking like breaking into this guy's house on live TV. And it, like, you knew, my 12-year-old self knew like this can't be real, but it looked so real. It was awesome. And then like there's a camera crew outside the house and a camera crew inside the house. So outside the house, there's like Brian Pillman had like 3 guards outside the house, and there was like a little kiddie pool. So Austin's like drowning the one guy in the kiddie pool, and then there's like an SUV in the driveway, and Austin's like cramming he opens the door to the SUV and he's cramming the guy's fucking head between
into the door. Yeah,
it was just great. And then the pan to the camera crew inside the house, and they're showing the fucking, there's like a window on the front door. They're showing the window getting broken into with like a guy's elbow, and it's Austin, right? Then they pan to, and that's when Austin 316 came out. And they pan to Pillman, and he pulls out a fucking 45, and he fucking cocks it, and he goes, Pillman 45 says if you open that door, you're a dead man. Dude, they actually had to apologize the next week for it. It was fucking awesome. To this day, one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life. Not just in wrestling, but like on all of TV. I definitely, if I was 36 then, would not have to drink to have to watch that.
Right. But okay, so let me put it to you this way. Back UFC, sorry, I'm choking here. I need a drink. See, I should be drinking right now. That's my problem. UFC, right? So do you remember when it was the octagon, the metal cage octagon?
Isn't it still that?
Listen, no, when I'm talking about it.
You're talking about when there were no weight classes and like.
When they would break people's arms and legs.
Like it could be like a lightweight versus a sumo wrestler, right?
Yeah, they would break people's arms. It would literally be fighting till pretty much the death till you're never.
I remember there were if I remember correctly, there were 3 rules. It was like no low blows, no choking, and like no eye gouging or something like that.
Yeah, something, but everything else counted, and they would beat the hell out of each other.
And it would be. I remember it was a tournament.
Yeah. Yes. That's what I'm talking about. That was like, to me, that was like the realest it's been, you know.
But you know what, though? It was never going to catch on as like a mainstream sport like that. It had a very niche audience. Us. But still, I'll take that. I'll take the old UFC over the new UFC any day.
Yeah, right. But there's no sustaining, right, injuring the fighter or fighting until you have an injury, because then, you know, what's it going to be? The sport's going to last 15 minutes. Look at the NFL now. The NFL has so many safety features and rules and changed everything all for the players' safeties because they were going, you know, they were getting hurt. Same thing with, you know, I wonder if wrestling caught on with that too, where it used to be.
Well, the WWE has a protocol too.
Right.
And like, so sometimes like the refs will go like this if like there's an injury. But sometimes it'll be. They also have earpieces, like they're in the Secret Service. But sometimes it'll be like a legitimate shoot injury. Remember, shoot means real, and work means fake. But
so that's what I'm saying. Like maybe it was more shoot right in the beginning, right, and then as for wrestler safety, it started getting more. What's the other word?
Work.
It got more work.
Yeah. Well, everything now it's a work. The only time it's not a work is if you have somebody like The Rock come back, because he doesn't give a fuck. He'll say or do anything if they give him the microphone. You know what I mean? Like that'll really be Dwayne being in Dwayne.
Yeah, but that's another part, right? So you want to talk about somebody being woke, right? Work, whatever.
Well, The Rock is sort of woke also.
Yeah, no work, right? I'll get it right after, like, you know, the show's over, right? So, but again, like I said, he's a good actor. He's in a lot of movies. So, you know, you could just chalk it up as he was a good worker.
And also, to teach you a little bit, a good worker also means, like, you're good in the ring. Like, you're a good wrestler. Like, well, actually, no, it doesn't necessarily mean that.
Not real life wrestler. It's a good actor.
Because, like, they say Hulk Hogan was one of the best workers of all time, but not a great wrestler. Because a worker means like you're working the crowd up, you're getting the crowd into it, you have charisma, you know what I mean? You get butts into seats, you draw people, you know what I mean? You sell tickets, like different people have different definitions of like what a good worker is.
Right. I'm sure, but I mean, look at Hulk Hogan. Is an excellent actor, right? You know what I mean? He would get everybody involved. You know, all that shit, right? You know,
tears his shirt when he gets to the ring.
Yeah.
He's just like the all-American guy.
Yeah. And like, you know, if you think about it, The Undertaker had his niche. You know, they all these guys that made it had like their own little gimmick, right? The Rock, you know, this, that. It was like they had their thing.
Now, what's funny is that Vince McMahon had the Undertaker already like thought of and designed in his mind.
Yeah.
Before he even met the guy's real name is Mark Calloway.
Yep.
And he was in the rival organization WCW when he was like younger, prior to when he was the Undertaker. But he just never met anybody that he thought could like fill that character. And then like the second he met Mark Calloway, he's like,
yeah, you're right.
He was like, you're the Undertaker.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay.
Right. So again, how much of it and what point does it go from actual wrestlers, right? Actual wrestlers that know how to wrestle to just actors? That's my question, right?
Well, here's a good example. I mean, you take a guy like Kurt Angle, who legitimately in the 96 Olympics won a gold medal. And they took him, and 3 years later, he was winning the fucking heavyweight championship in the WWF with like Austin and The Rock.
Yeah.
And fucking Triple H. Like he was in the mix. Like he did a really good transfer. A lot of people can't do that. The main people they try to recruit now, like what they'll do is they'll send their people to the NFL Combine, and they'll try to recruit the people that don't make like an NFL roster.
Yeah, the rejects.
Yeah, and in Orlando, they built it maybe at this point. I want to say with about 8 years ago. It's called the Performance Center, and it's the same thing. It's like the Giants have like their practice facility like next to MetLife Stadium.
Yep.
It's like the same deal, but for the WWE. And it's a place where like they have people do tryouts, and they'll sign you to what's called like a developmental deal, which means basically they'll pay you like a salary, like $50K, $60K a year to train there. And then if you're good enough, they'll sign you and they'll call you up to the main roster. It's sort of like being in like AA or AAA.
Yeah, no, I got it. So that's pretty cool. Like I didn't know that existed. So if you actually wanted to be a wrestler, right? Like say for instance, there was a certain person, which I'm sure you know who they are. We're not going to name them nameless, but they were a very popular wrestler when we were younger, and they they made all state champions every year, state championships.
Oh, you mean from our hometown?
Yeah, from our hometown,
yeah.
Right? Yeah. So
and he may or may not be related to Snooki.
May or may not be. So the bottom line, though, is that he's a great kid. He was a good friend of mine. He was in my grade and everything, and he did lifelong wrestling, right? So maybe I don't know if he knew about that or if it existed at the time, but just think that's a place where a good wrestler can go and maybe make it, or you got to be an actor, right? So if you think about it. Like, Stone Cold Steve Austin, like, The Rock, like how many of them have made, were actors too? You know what I mean?
Well,
like in movies.
Well, I'll tell you what, you could be the greatest amateur wrestler in the world, but the thing about pro wrestling is so I'm going to teach you another word. It's called bump. So bump is one like you fake. I don't want to say the word fake, but a bump is like, say you push me and I jump up and fall on the mat.
Yeah.
That's called taking a bump. So anytime you fall, it's called taking a bump. That doesn't happen in amateur wrestling, and like the ring is not as soft as it looks. So you have to be willing to take like thousands and thousands and thousands of bumps. And there's an expression that they say like your career in pro wrestling only has so many bumps before you have to retire. So
right.
That's number one. Number two, you're right about, I'll expand on the acting. It's not just about being a good actor. It's about you have to be able to connect with the crowd. So like if you look at like 80s Ric Flair when he was in like his suits cutting promos, and talking shit, like you got to be good at talking shit. That's what got Austin popular. That's what got Piper popular.
Yeah.
That's what got Rock popular. And Hogan, Hogan started out before he had his run in the 80s. He started out as a bad guy, but he was also good. He had a lot of charisma. So when he became a good guy, he was good at like talking shit, like in the other way around. Because usually like the best shit talkers are like the bad guys.
Yeah. So he was a bad guy, huh?
When he started out. Yeah. Like when he was Thunder Lips, he was a bad guy. Like when he was wrestling.
Okay.
And then Hogan or McMahon looked at him and saw dollar signs and said, I can make this my all-American fucking cash cow.
So you're saying that Vince McMahon is actually responsible for the development of wrestling?
Well, for Hogan, I mean, there was plenty of wrestling before McMahon. So what McMahon did, and this is probably something you don't know because you're not a wrestling nerd like I am, prior to like WrestleMania 1, which was in 1985, and the WWF sort of skyrocketing on national TV, I do need to point out the WWF was the first company to go on national TV. But before that, they had what were called territories. So like Mid-Atlantic had a territory. Florida had a territory. The Texas area had a territory. Portland had a territory. California had a territory. Minnesota had a territory called the AWA, which is where Hogan actually came from. And then New York's territory was McMahon's territory.
Okay.
And what McMahon did was he made territories obsolete. But so like usually if you were a wrestler, so like Ric Flair like never was really part of Vince McMahon's company. Like he was, but for the purpose of this conversation, he really wasn't, especially in the 80s. He was with the other company, the NWA, and the NWA consisted of all these territories. So Ric Flair would be the NWA champion, and he'd go to like, Florida and defend the belt, and then he'd go to like some other territory to defend the belt and just kind of go around the country, and he'd defend the belt against like the territory's biggest hero.
So they were trying to make it like football leagues or football teams, like for an argument's sake.
Yeah, sort of. And as a wrestler, say I was a wrestler like in the early 80s, I would do like maybe 3 to 6 months in like the Georgia territory, and then I'd have my run would be over in that territory. And then maybe I'd go to the Texas territory for a few months. Then my run would be over there, and then maybe I'd go to Minnesota for 6 months. And that's sort of the way it worked because none of this was on national TV. It was all like on local, like whatever, PBX or in your local station.
Right.
All right.
Now when you say NWA, I'm just going to give you a hard time here. You're not speaking about the one with Eazy-E and Ice Cube and Dr. Dre. We're talking about a different NWA, right?
Correct. I believe this NWA was established before the latter NWA you're referring to.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, no, and so what McMahon did was he sort of took like the MVP of like each territory. So he already had his own territory, New York.
Yeah, right.
So he had like Bruno Sammartino and like Gorgeous George and Bob Backlund and all those old school guys. And he snatched Jesse the Body Ventura, and he snatched Mean Gene Okerlund, and he snatched Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Right, dude. Mean Gene, man. Wow.
Yeah, he snatched all these guys. He snatched up Hulk Hogan. He fucking I don't know where he found Macho Man. I don't know if Macho Man had to have come from some territory, but even Andre went from territory to territory, and he somehow signed Andre to some sort of a deal where he had Andre. So he basically took all the MVPs from all the territories, and they used to call New York the land of the monsters because he had like he had Big John Studd, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, all these names, Greg the Hammer Valentine, Jimmy
right.
Jimmy Superfly Snuka.
Right, so who took it from it was the AWA from 70 to 84, right? And then who took it to 84 to 93, right? With the WWF. That was really who started the WWF?
Vince McMahon's grandfather.
Right. So let me tell you, that guy, right? I'm just saying.
And he also promoted boxing.
Right, but that guy was a legend, man. He's the one that did all of this. If you think about it.
And if you go back to the origins of pro wrestling, it actually evolved from a professional level of amateur wrestling, which your friend from high school would have been perfect for.
Right. Because I could tell you, listen, here's the progression, right? It was like, 70 to 84. It wasn't that popular. It really gained the popularity '84 to '93.
Well, you know what's funny? Even back then in the early 70s and late 60s, I heard it was always popular with like everybody's grandma.
And now, listen, because maybe they wanted the hot piece of ass on TV, but other than that,
Well, no, because even back then, like wrestlers weren't like. If you go back and watch a random wrestling show from the '80s,
yeah,
you had like beer guts. Like you weren't like in the greatest shape. Like now these guys are like chiseled.
But that's what I said. The WWF was where that really gained all its popularity, right? And again, that was also the quintessential peak of my childhood, right? Because then, by the time that, it went to the WCW in '93, I was getting my, Picholine played with, and I had no care about wrestling.
Well, that's what happens.
That's what happened. So did that happen for the population? I mean, because it really started tapering off. It hit that peak, and that was it.
You're right. Not like I would say the apex of the WWF was about 90 to 91.
Yeah, that was it.
And I actually started watching it when I was 7 years old back in '92.
Yeah.
Because like I would flip through the channels when I was a kid, and two things on TV would scare me: the Crypt Keeper and Hulk Hogan.
Oh, dude, the Crypt Keeper, man, that was a shit. That guy was a shit, man.
But yeah, business sort of started going in the downward direction in '92, and it didn't really have that resurgence till Hulk Hogan became a bad guy in the NWO in '96. And then that's when Austin did his Austin 316 speech.
Yeah.
And then that's when it started going up. And actually, when I started talking to girls and I admitted I watched wrestling, those girls stopped talking to me. So if you think about 99, the year 1999, that was my sophomore year. 99 is probably, I would say if 91 was an apex, I would say 2001 would be the other apex. But 99 is like right up there. And I didn't watch it for like a whole year because I was just trying to get pussy.
I mean, listen, the bottom line from like 1996 to present, right? I've been getting pussy, so I've stopped paying attention to, wrestling and things like that. So, they were my childhood with the comic books and, the baseball cards.
Well, I can tell you I never stopped with the comic books. I never stopped with the wrestling. I mean, the problem now with the wrestling, like I've had girlfriends that like I brought to wrestling events and it was cool.
Yeah.
But the product now just sucks. And thankfully there's a new the reason I'm going for 4 hours tonight, there's a new wrestling promotion called AEW. And it's got its issues. It's not perfect. It's only like a year and a half old. But it's just so much better than the WWE right now. It's actually watchable. So like usually I don't even watch the WWE live. I usually watch it on my DVR because I'm not even exaggerating. I probably skip through about 90% of it. It's that bad.
And you can't share any of it on this cast here because of copyright stuff, right?
Probably, but I mean, like I'm capable of doing it. I know how to pipe it in.
No, I know you're capable of it. We do it all the time. But I was saying, like, we can't even start watching some of this stuff, like even and then critiquing it, can we?
I mean, if there was a way to share my screen with you.
Yeah, I'm just saying because that would make it interesting, right? If we were able to watch it and critique it. Just listen, my wrestling expertise is very old, but still I have some.
Hey, but just the names you threw out there, man, I could do a 10-hour fucking podcast.
That's what I'm saying. So there's content available here. So maybe we capitalize on it one time.
Well, I mean, if you remember, like when I was 19, a little while ago, not like last week or anything, but when everybody thought I was on steroids, that's when I should have if I was going to make a move and try to be a wrestler, I should have done it then.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what tickled your fancy, I mean,
I would have totally. And now I look, nobody gets into the business at 36, but it's a little old, but I would have been good at it,
Right. So is this the SummerSlam that we're talking about right now?
SummerSlam is actually tomorrow. So right now, this is the last WWE show before SummerSlam. We call that the go home show. So they need to do a strong show tonight. And so far it's like mediocre.
Right. So the guy that's on stage right now. With,
Oh, so did you put on Channel 5?
Yeah, it's on.
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now.
yeah.
Okay.
So the reason why they have hashtag SummerSlam on the screen is because they're just trying to plug SummerSlam.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to figure out how to get this closed captions on this thing here so that I can, what do you call it?
Actually, SummerSlam 92 was the first pay-per-view that I ever watched live.
Okay.
It was from Wembley Stadium, so it was actually on a tape delay. And the main event was your boy Macho Man versus Ultimate Warrior. And your boy Undertaker came out in a fucking hearse.
Yeah.
Because it was Wembley Stadium. So like the aisle to the ring was probably like the length of a football field.
Yeah.
So he fucking came out on a hearse. It was so funny.
Yeah, I'm just watching this right now.
And then the main event was Bret Hart versus the British Bulldog.
Bret Hart versus wow, there's just some names. I mean, like I said, I remember him at the time, but like they've been locked away and like, oh my God, what just happened? This guy just got like oil slick dumped all over him or something. Are you watching the shape of this right now?
Yeah, so this is Seth Rollins. So his gimmick means like character.
Yeah.
His gimmick is that he's like a televangelist, but my problem with that is that he just won't admit he's a televangelist. Like the guy's clearly a fucking televangelist.
Yeah, I mean he was just preaching with it. Like I didn't even have to have the closed caption on to tell he's preaching.
But they but they will not say that word for some reason. Now why this is happening, I have no idea.
Right, I'm just saying the guy's covered in I don't know. It's supposed to be oil slick, but it looks like it's a bad case of Hershey syrup over there.
That's what it probably is, right?
Yeah, something food dye or something with crap in it.
What's funny, this guy is like a little younger than me, and he's been watching wrestling since even before I started watching it. Like there's some people that get into wrestling just to make money, and there's some people that get in because they're just diehard fans, like I am. I will give this guy credit. He's very good and very talented, but the problem with the company right now, and I'm speaking about the WWE, it's so micromanaged, and they have so many writers that it comes across like so not natural. And I hate using the F word fake.
Yeah.
But it just does. It just comes across fucking fake because it's just too micromanaged. Back in the day, like when you used to watch it, they would give the guys like, make sure you say this bullet point, and that bullet point.
Yeah.
And say whatever the fuck else you have to say.
Right.
Now these guys have to memorize like a 3-paragraph like fucking manuscript.
Okay. Yeah. So they're doing it all.
Or I'm sorry, monologue.
Yeah, I know what you meant.
And they're more worried about like the augmented graphics you see on the screen than the actual entertainment factor of the product.
Right.
Like, dude, the graphics are cool. Don't get me wrong. Like, if I was high right now, that would look cool as shit.
That's what I'm saying. It's pretty good, right? And like, I'm just looking at that guy
like,
Otis, right? Like that guy Otis is pretty big.
Like their production values are fucking great.
Yeah.
But what good are great production values if their overall product is not even fucking good?
All right. Right. How old is John Cena now?
Oh, you mean the fucking disgrace?
Yeah. How old is that disgrace?
He's probably 44, if I had to guess.
Yeah. I'm just looking
at 45.
There's a commercial on for, WWE.com/NFT.
If I'm 36, he's either 43 or 44.
Yeah, so he's a little bit older than me, man.
Because he blew up when he was like 26, 27.
Yeah.
And dude, before you came on, I was talking to the juice heads out there about my love-hate relationship with this guy, because when he first came out to like the main roster, he was just bland, like next door neighbor John Cena, like the guy next door.
Yeah.
Nothing to him. He just looked good. He just looked like a juice set or whatever.
Yeah.
And he admitted this on he did like a podcast. I don't know if he did a podcast or he did some sort of shoot interview. Again, shoot means real. And he admitted he was like pretty close to getting to the chopping block. And they were touring in Europe. So when they do European tours, they all travel together on a bus from city to city. And he would do like freestyle, like rap in the back of the bus, and he would make all the guys laugh in the bus.
Okay.
And they were like, bro, you know, you're not in the greatest standings with the company. And at the time, his boss was Stephanie McMahon. You know who that is, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you know who she is, but she's also like, and has been for like 20 years now, an executive in the company that can hire or fire people.
Right. Because
And so he did a rap, like a freestyle rap for her, like on the bus. And that basically saved his job. And she was like, you got to do this in front of the camera on screen. And that's what made, and then he started dressing like Turtle from Entourage, if you remember Entourage.
Yes. I love that show.
So like say like he was at the Garden, he'd wear like a Knicks hat and like a Ewing jersey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So wherever they were, like he'd do that. And he would come out and he'd do like a freestyle about like how he was going to kick the shit out of his opponent.
Okay.
And what was good about it too, the thing that stuck out with me that like entertained me about it as like I must have been like 19, 20 years old. He would always rhyme a word with fuck. And he'd say that line that rhymes with fuck. And then he'd say the next line. And he'd put the mic up like this and let the crowd say fuck for him. So he didn't have to say it.
Okay.
I just thought that was good. I mean,
I mean, listen, everybody has their niche. If you really think about it, everybody had their gimmick or their niche. And that's kind of what took off. And that's what you need, you know, and I guess that's what made everybody a little bit different and everybody memorable. Because you didn't really remember, right? Like some of these people, but you remembered like, oh, the guy that had the Slim Jim with like the colored bands around his neck. You know what I mean? And then there was like, oh yeah, that's that guy. You know, so that's how you remembered him. They had their gimmick.
Right. So to answer your question from before, can you be a good, legitimate, like amateur wrestler and then like make it in, say, the WWE? The answer is yes, it's possible.
Yeah.
But it's rare.
Right.
The only person really, and technically Brock Lesnar was also, well, not technically, he was an amateur wrestler. He was an NCAA champion. So Brock Lesnar, and like, by the way, another wrestling term, Steve, when you, I'm going to use my finger quotes, when you make it like with the crowd, or I'll put it this way. When the crowd cares about you, it's called getting over, meaning like you got over with the crowd.
Okay.
So the only amateur wrestlers I could think of to really get over and really make it big league are Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar, who actually main evented a WrestleMania.
Okay.
It's all about, and I learned this from the Podfather himself. His name's Don Tony. Shout out to Don Tony. He has a podcast of his own, but it's all about connecting with the crowd. If you can't connect with the crowd, so like, if say you come out and they boo the fuck out of you, that's good because they're showing some sort of an emotion. If you come out to the ring and there's crickets means indifference. Indifference equals low ratings, no money, you're gone. You're done.
Right. That's why they got all these gimmicks, right? This Rhea Ripley with the spikes on her thing, and the Charlotte Flair looks like she's a Victoria's Secret whore.
Well, she's Ric Flair's daughter.
Right, I understand, but I'm just saying, like, you know, listen, I can picture that if you picture the trailer park closest to that place you were telling me about in Florida, right, where they all go and train, I think you would go there and find all the wrestlers that haven't made it yet, or probably all living in the same trailer park. They all have the same gimmick. They're actors, right? Doing the thing. I mean, it's kind of cool.
You got to do something to stand out. And I'll tell you what, though, like especially in the WWE, it's harder now than ever because they have like a staff of like 50 writers, and they're not even good writers. They're like fucking soap opera writers.
Right.
And by the way, they know nothing about wrestling. Like all the knowledge I just spilled to you since you jumped on this podcast, they don't even know 5% of what I've been talking to you about.
I can tell you, I've learned a lot, right? Because I probably forgot a lot, right? But I'm saying I learned a lot from what you're saying. But I mean, look, that dude's a big dude right there. What's that guy that we were talking about? What's this guy walking down? He's walking down the ramp, right?
We're on a little bit of a delay because I'm using YouTube TV. You're using whatever service you're on.
Otis.
Oh yeah. Otis is a big motherfucker.
He's a big boy, right? So I'm just saying, so he's a big boy, right? You just came on TV and said who he was, right? He's a big boy, right? Like, I mean,
and the guy he's with was a really good amateur wrestler. He made it to the Olympics but didn't win.
Okay, so right, so see, that's the guy. He was an amateur wrestler, did the Olympics, and now they pulled him in for this acting gig. Okay, so see, I got it.
That guy is a big dude. If you had like, if you converted like half your weight to muscle mass, you'd look like Otis.
Listen, that's the guy that you just got to kick in the balls. If he doesn't go down, you're done for.
Dude, in real life, can you imagine? Let me refresh my screen here. Maybe I'll sync up to you a little bit better.
Okay.
And I actually do like the Street Profits, the black guys in the red. They're actually like a pretty, because like you got to remember, these guys are super micromanaged in the WWE.
Yeah.
So whatever they do, like I can tell when they do something that wasn't written for them because dude, if they do something that's not written for them and it bombs, they get reamed out by Vince McMahon. Like he micromanages everything. Like right now, as we speak, because this is live, Vince McMahon is behind that LED stage watching this on a monitor. And like the second these guys are done with their match, they're either going to get reamed out or they're going to shake his hand and he's going to say good job.
Okay, so he's that controlling.
Yeah, oh yeah. And it's gotten worse over the years. Because remember at one point Vince McMahon was like the commentator and nobody knew he was like the actual owner of the company.
Listen, what's this guy with Otis? What's his name? I'm sorry, the other guy.
Chad Gable.
Chad Gable, right? Listen, I'm just saying for that guy's got some pretty good like reflexes and his ability to like jump around. Like it's pretty impressive how he does it, man.
No, he's good, man, and he's one of those people. He's a victim of being micromanaged. If they just let this guy loose, he could be really good. And the problem is they just sort of keep him in that lower mid-card spot. And again, you also got to keep in mind, too, the roster's bloated. There's like about 150 people on the roster.
Oh, really? They got 150 different wrestlers now?
Yeah, because there's a whole women's division, too. I'm including the women.
Right, but I'm saying, but you have 150 people. How the hell do you know who an eighth of them are?
Well, I know because I keep up with it. But
right, well, obviously, this is your gig and this is your podcast, right? But I'm just saying, like, wow. I mean, that's why they got too many wrestlers, right? You really need to, like, if you think about it, back in the day, you had a handful. You knew everybody's name.
Right. That's a big problem. And again, I'm not for people losing their job, but they need to get rid of like half the roster. They just do.
Yeah. You need to thin the herd, man.
And again, that's and the other organization I was talking about that goes on at 10 o'clock tonight, they're starting to overbloat their roster as well. But the difference is they don't have 50 riders.
Well,
they don't micromanage their talent. So it's basically like whoever like does a good job keeps their job, and whoever doesn't do their job well moves down the ladder. You know what I mean?
Right, and then that becomes all about the ratings, right? Because the ratings are what drives what they do.
Because even though the matches are predetermined, the competition is real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's all about the competition of drawing money, selling merchandise, getting a reaction from the crowd, and moving up the card. Those are all for as much as this is sports entertainment and not a real sport, it's just as competitive as a real sport.
Who is this guy? He looks like a gay, like he's Freddie Mercury, right? He's Freddie Mercury right now, gonna sing Bohemian Rhapsody.
You know what? We're just gonna call him Queen.
Yeah.
The Asian dude is Shinsuke Nakamura. He's very well respected from Japan. As a matter of fact, in Japan, like, he's very well regarded.
Okay, so he's like,
not this guy, not the guy with the mustache. Bro, I don't even know who the fuck this guy is. Who is he?
It looks like the Shebangs guy.
He almost looks like Ravishing Rick Rude. So in Japan, they actually take pro wrestling very seriously, and they treat it like it's a real sport.
Okay.
And and say you want to be like a pro wrestler in Japan, you actually have to train in a dojo.
Okay, so you're a real wrestler then.
Yeah. It's
right.
like Japanese pro wrestling. I'm trying to think of a way to put it. It's like a choreographed like karate match.
Yeah, right. I got you. It's like a Jackie Chan kind of situation, but real life.
Yes. And like, have you ever heard of like Antonio Inoki?
Sorry.
Sorry you didn't hear me, or sorry you got to jump?
Sorry, no, sorry. I have no idea who you're talking about, right?
Oh, and well, Antonio Inoki is famous. One of the reasons he's famous is because he did a match with Muhammad Ali.
Okay.
And I think McMahon promoted it. Someone promoted it. I don't know who, but
we're talking about from back in the day, though, sir. Correct?
Oh, that's late 70s, early 80s territory. Before, I don't even know about that. As much as I know, I can't tell you the year that was from.
Gotcha.
I could give you like within the 10 years it was from.
Now let me ask you a question. How do you think the show is going? Because you had an agenda, right? And I kind of just hopped on here and steered you in a direction. So,
how do you think the podcast is going, or how do you think?
I mean, am I contributing to your wrestling podcast with limited knowledge here?
Oh, you're doing phenomenal.
Okay. No, I was saying, like, should I keep it up, or did you have like an agenda that you planned on doing?
No, keep it up, because all I was doing was talking shit about wrestling and reacting to the show. So stay on as long as you feel like it, bro.
Okay, cool.
Plus, this is good podcasting practice, because I was explaining to the juice heads out there that ever since I started this new job, I haven't had a lot of energy to keep up my What's Trending show, to keep up some of the other shows I was doing. Rubbing the Rhubarb that's my uncle's fault, because he runs that show. I used to do a show called Morning Juice. I haven't done that in a while. And I used to do pro wrestling shows. So I wanted to just do a 4-hour extravaganza. Whoever wants to join me joins me, whether they join me on the show or as the audience. But I need this for my podcasting chops. I need to get my shit back up. We're going to start Juice Giorgio Network Season 2. We're going to convert this channel into Uncommon Sense only. And we're going to get a clean start on JGN S2, where we're going to do the football show, and we're going to do What's Trending, but I'm going to rebrand it. Instead of calling it NFL Boycott Club, and instead of calling it What's Trending, we're going to call it Juice Takes On. And what am I going to take on? That's a great question. If it's the football show, it's going to be Juice Takes On Football. If it's What's Trending, and say, I don't know, SummerSlam is trending, it's going to be Juice Takes On SummerSlam. That's the way we're going to rebrand it for Juice Giorgio Network Season 2.
Okay.
But Uncommon Sense is going to stay Uncommon Sense.
Okay. Are we going to start a ball juice maybe at some point in time? Ball juice is going to be good for when the winter months, when there's more time spent at home.
If you want our show to be called Ball Juice, then we should do that.
Right, but I'm saying... Like,
you know what's funny? I was a little tuned up, and I thought that was like the greatest name in the world I ever thought of. And then I read that back sober, and I'm like, well, we sort of all came from Ball Juice, and we all sort of spilled out of it.
Right. So that was kind of what my thought was, right? I'm like, it sounds like a good idea at one moment, and then at the flip side, where are we really going with this? We might scare people away.
Right, yeah. So, yeah, for those that don't know in the audience, I was thinking about just rebranding every show Ball Juice this, Ball Juice that, but, you got to let, what's the saying? You got to let, clearer minds prevail or something like that.
Yeah. Something like that.
I'll tell you what, though, that blonde chick that I used to have a lot of intercourse with in Atlantic City like 10 years ago, she actually liked that name. I don't know if you remember her. But anyway, she liked that name. But that also was because she experienced a lot of my ball juice personally.
Nice.
Hey, these things happen in the course of life. You meet people. Sometimes they experience your ball juice. Sometimes you experience your own ball juice thinking about them because they'll never see it. I'll tell you what, man. I was in a wedding on Sunday. I thought for sure, and I was in it, I thought for sure the girl that I got paired with, I called her, I won't even say what I called her or whatever. And let's just say on a scale of 1 to 10, she was like at least an 8.75.
Nice.
And I've had weddings where I met the girl for the first time, rehearsing, the coming up to the stage together, and ended up closing it on wedding night just from that. And I was sort of hoping for that to happen. And after the ceremony, it was like, who are you?
Well, I mean, were you a fucking disgrace? Just out of curiosity, or were you okay?
Well, no. The thing was, we got totally separated, after the ceremony when we were, in the banquet area. We got totally separated. Dude, I was on actually really good behavior. Believe it or not.
I was asking if you were on good behavior or not.
What?
I was asking you if you were on good behavior or not.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
No, because, I mean, listen, I'm just saying, if you were good behavior and she wasn't into you, then fair enough.
Yeah. And look, this might be a, what do they call, second prize? Not the token prize, the consolation prize?
Yeah.
I had already slept with the groom's sister, who was also in the wedding, so at least I banged one of the bridesmaids.
Nice.
She probably would never bang me again either, but that's a different story.
That's a different story altogether. It doesn't matter.
Maybe I would never bang her again. You know what I mean? Maybe it's from me, not from her.
No, listen, 100% hands down. The woman decides. The woman decides when it happens, where it happens, how it happens. Period. The end.
By the way, this is the greatest pro wrestling podcast of all time already, yeah. And we're only an hour and a half into it. This is a 4-hour fucking extravaganza. And we're talking about who would bang who and what order and who decides. This is great. I'm having a blast. I'm having a blast.
I mean, so yes, you were digressing probably. So now I'm looking at these half-naked girls, right, choking each other with their own hair.
Right. This is the so-called women's division.
Oh, okay. So it's all about how little.
I'll tell you what, though, the chick wearing the full-piece blue suit, Bianca Belair, she's a sick fucking athlete for real.
Okay.
I'm just saying, she does really impressive shit. Yo, and see the smaller girl she's fighting within the ring at WrestleMania. She whipped her with that long ass hair so hard that it left a welt on her flesh.
But now, is that real hair? Is that
I mean, I'm assuming it's real. I couldn't tell you. You know, I don't know her personally.
No, I'm just saying, like, that's
Oh,
like,
she's actually married to one of the guys that came out with the red Solo cups.
okay.
Just a little tidbit for you.
Oh no, like, really? One of the people that got the Solo, like, invented the Solo Cup.
No. Remember, like, there was just that tag team match with Otis
Yeah.
and the two black guys?
Oh, one of those guys.
Yeah, she's married to one of those guys.
Sorry. I'm thinking Solo Cups, like the red thing. I'm like old here.
Well, no. They come out to the ring with the Solo cups. You didn't notice that?
Maybe, probably, no, not really.
All right. Well, that's like their shtick, and it's pretty fun, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, she's pretty jacked.
Look, you know me. If a wrestler comes out to the ring with the red Solo cup, I'm a fan.
Right, and Head and Shoulders. There was just a commercial with her in it with Head and Shoulders. So that means
That makes sense. She's got a lot of hair.
Right. No, but I'm saying it has to be real hair because, you know, would it really be that terrible if it was like hair extensions or it was fake and she's promoting Head and Shoulders shampoo? Can't do that.
I wonder what she was doing with her life before she got into pro wrestling.
She looks really, you know, she's pretty athletic, right? So probably dance or cheerleading or something along those lines.
But yeah, she's actually very impressive. Now we got Jeff Goldblum doing an Apartments.com commercial. Appears to be St. Louis. See, I could be a play-by-play guy.
Listen, I think we do good shows together no matter what the topic is so far.
Yeah, dude. Actually, I like doing a wrestling show with you because you know nothing about it and I know everything about it.
Right.
And it's like a good, like, we play off well with each other or against each other, not with each other, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Now, I saw before that you had somebody watching the show while you were doing it.
Yeah, I had a juice set in here, and there'll be more to watch. Tonight's a big night because I'm not going to drop his name yet, but on the other wrestling promotion at 10 o'clock, there might be a really, really big name. Now, you probably never heard of him because he's only been a really huge name within the past, we'll say 14 to 15 years, but really huge. He was at like Hulk Hogan level like 10 years ago, but only for a little while. Then he walked away from the business altogether. But his hometown is Chicago, and the other wrestling promotion just happens to be at the United Center tonight. Okay. Now, if you know anything because you watch basketball, the United Center is where the Bulls play.
Yes, that I picked up pretty quickly.
So, like, it's funny. Before I ever got into like football or like sports, I was a wrestling fan, and I always knew the names of all the arenas where all the basketball teams were because, like, of wrestling. So, like, it's just fun. It's just one of those things, like, that overlap with, like, mainstream sports, you know?
Yeah. No, it's just, you know, it's just interesting that they, you know, what they've done with it, though. I haven't watched it in so long, and I just put it on now. And I just happened to turn the TV on, and it was on, so it was even better.
Look, and the one thing, and by the way, if you stay with me for the next show, I'm not saying I don't expect you to stay for the whole next show, but if you do stay on for that overlap, the next show is on TNT. But I'll never knock the talent because I think the talent is there because they earned the right to be there. I'll never say such and such person should get fired. They shouldn't be on TV. They suck. I think you don't suck if you made it to the point where you're on fucking Fox 5 on national TV. But what I will say is that the product sucks. But there's a difference, right? There's a difference between knocking the talent and knocking the product. And a lot of these wrestlers, I'm not saying they listen to my podcast per se, but there's a lot of there's probably like 2,000 different wrestling podcasts out there.
Really?
And a lot of wrestlers definitely listen to a lot of wrestling podcasts, and they get really butthurt if somebody critiques them. And they'll retort like on Twitter, and they'll always, and I'm not saying this of every wrestler out there, but there's a select few who I won't name who never responded to me because I'm not nearly big enough. But like another word in wrestling, Steve, is called sell. So say like I'm punching the shit out of you and you're reacting like you're getting the shit kicked out of you. That's called you're selling my punches, okay?
Okay.
So I could also punch the shit out of you and you not react at all. That's called a no sell. That's called you're not selling my punches, okay?
I'm totally not paying attention to you because I'm watching Carmella. Apparently her name is, and
And Selena Vega.
well, all I can tell you is, I guess whatever. All I can tell you is it looks like you know, I don't know. I'm in the Bunny Ranch in Vegas.
All right. Well, we're going to go back to selling and not selling in a minute here. Let's let you get this out of your system.
Right, I got to get out of my system because she's again half naked, right, doing jumping jacks and somersaults.
All right. You see the other girl that's next to Carmella, the shorter Tanner girl?
Yeah.
She just returned to the WWE. You want to know why she left?
She was doing a porn?
Close. You want to guess again?
No, you can just tell me.
You were so close. Are you sure you don't want to guess again?
She was doing Playboy?
All right, OnlyFans.
OnlyFans. Oh, which speaking of that, OnlyFans is now prohibiting.
I saw that. You got to be what? They're shooting themselves in the foot. They're
Right,
pulling
yeah.
a Plexico Burris.
Yeah, that's what they just did. They shot themselves in the foot.
So now, dude, this is our chance to step up and develop a platform before someone else does.
Right. Well, wait, what was the My Pillow guy's website? The Frank what?
FrankSpeech.com.
FrankSpeech.com. Listen, we should, partner with FrankSpeech.com.
Bro, he's very anti-porn and like profanity.
Oh no.
You got to keep in mind he's a recovering crack addict. He's very much with Jesus. He's a born again.
That's right. It would be a perfect proposition for Larry Flint, but he died.
Bro,
Hugh Hefner died.
Bro, I guarantee you somebody else already launched a site where you could do it. I guarantee you we're already too late.
Probably.
But the problem wasn't that she had an OnlyFans. The problem was Vince McMahon didn't want anybody on his roster having like a Vimeo, or not Vimeo, but whatever, like a Twitch. Like he basically didn't want anybody on his roster monetizing themselves outside of the WWE.
Right, because he wants all that revenue.
Right.
He wants to pay you. Whatever he decides to pay you, and if you don't like that, well, you ain't getting money anywhere else.
Right. But you know what's the biggest joke about that? Is that these wrestlers, even though they're under contract, they're considered independent contractors. It's like a loophole.
Okay.
Because back when there were remember I was explaining the territory system to you?
Yeah.
That's truly when they were independent contractors.
Right, okay.
But now, even though they're under contract, they're still deemed independent contractors, but these contracts have stipulations because Vince McMahon has an excellent team of attorneys.
Right, so it seems like Vince McMahon is the smartest man that's controlling, when I say smartest man, he's the guy that has the brains to control all these other wrestlers. He basically is coming in with Home Depot now, and he's eating up all the local hardware stores.
Right. He's pulling the strings.
Right.
So now we're on a commercial with Flo and that Progressive insurance. You know who I heard is associated with this? I heard George Soros has a lot to do with this.
Again, here we're down that rabbit hole again. But yeah, I mean, who controls the media? We know who controls the TV, the media. We talk about this all the time.
People with the money.
The left.
Hey, speaking of the My Pillow guy, did you actually watch any of the shit that he's been putting out on FrankSpeech.com?
No, listen, to be honest with you, I have been so busy at work. It's been absolutely crazy. I was on the phone with, another country until, 1 a.m. last night. And then I was back on at 7 a.m. Like, it's been crazy.
Oh, so you got to be exhausted.
Yeah, I'm shot. Now I'm going on vacation next week. right? So I had to get everything done before I left.
Let me ask you a very important question. Did you put up your away email message?
Yes, I put up my out of office.
That must have felt really good.
It did. It felt really good. I haven't, listen, I haven't really shut off in a really long time, and I'm going to be in shut off mode.
Well, look, everybody needs to do that or you're going to go fucking crazy.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much the point that I'm at, right? And then leading up to vacation, all the people that worked, two of the people that I worked with, right? So how it worked was one worked under me, one worked above me, and myself all worked on this project. So my boss left, and when he was leaving, it was brought down to basically they're either going to hire somebody else, which they don't have, or I could just take over and handle it. So I took his job. So then I did his job and my job. And then the other two people that worked for me were able to help me and step up. One of them quit because he didn't want to work anymore and got a job somewhere else. So now they hired a new guy who has no idea what he's doing because he's brand new to the company. So he's not useless, but he just doesn't know, man. He's a good kid. He's trying. He's just struggling over finance, and he doesn't understand all the stuff because he had an hour and a half training before this guy walked out the door. So it was the most horrible situation anyway. I mean, we were steering the show in the wrong direction, but I've been doing the work of three people.
Hey, it's commercial break. You can talk about whatever you want. We can
No,
talk about the 9-piece Arby's nuggets if you want.
No, we're back to this Carmella that's back on TV. And
See, I'm definitely on a delay because I'm still on the Arby's commercial.
Oh, yeah, no. And let me tell you something. I mean, she has fake tits. She has all kinds of Botox in her face, right? She's wearing 42 pounds of makeup. But my God, is she smoking hot.
So I got to tell you, remember I told you they have that developmental center down in Orlando?
Yeah.
She's one of the first graduates.
And
I'll tell you what I will do is I want to show you how different she looked when she was in the AA system. I'm going to share it on the screen with you.
Okay.
Bro, she looks like she got too much work done.
Yeah, she did. She got a lot of work done, but you want to know something?
She's still, don't get me wrong, she's still amazing.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm a fat monstrosity, but I can tell you her nose is a little wonky, right? So that's disproportionate. But the rest of her looks fucking slamming for however much money she paid for it.
I'm trying to find a good picture of her from back in the day. I think I might have just found one. Well, hold on. I'll just go to the whole images page.
Yeah, the whole images page. We can share that.
Yeah, she legit. And again, don't get me wrong. She looks great, but there's something about the way she used to look. Can you see the screen?
Yeah. I can see that here.
So, does that look like even remotely the same person to you?
No. She's got so much more, plastic surgery done.
And and what's wrong with that? That's unbelievable.
Yeah, that is unbelievable. I'm saying, but she's listen, yeah.
Look at this.
Yeah, it's not good.
This is what she truly used to look like. This picture.
Right. So I'm saying, yeah, I mean, she's got a lot of plastic surgery.
And her whole gimmick is that she's the princess of Staten Island.
Okay.
But she's really from Boston. There's a tidbit for you.
Okay.
And do you remember back in the day when you would watch wrestling on Saturday morning and Roddy Piper would have a match with a no-name and just kick the shit out of him for 2 minutes and win?
Yeah.
Okay, so the guy that would get the shit kicked out of him for 2 minutes and lose was called a jobber because they would be doing the job to lose.
Yeah.
So her father was a jobber in the early 90s. So that's how she got into the business.
Okay.
See how I know everybody's backstory?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, listen, the bottom line is that she is, right, of course they're going to let her win. But I'm saying she is, I don't want to say because it's fake, but she has no imperfections on her. She's hot as fucking can be.
And in the meantime, Bianca Belair looks like she has zero work unless her hair is fake.
Right, but of course, you know, she's the African American, right? So she's always going to be treated worse.
Is
So
it okay? Let me ask you a question. We're on the internet, we're on the podcast, and I'm going to get an honest answer out of you. I still say black. Is it okay to say if somebody's black? Because, like, you could be black and not be African. You know what I mean?
No, Juice, you can't. You got to be of African American heritage.
Like, for example, our vice president, and we're not going to talk politics, but the heritage of our vice president is Indian and Jamaican, okay? And her complexion is black, comes off as black. But she's not, her heritage is not African.
Right, but she plays the card.
Oh, okay, we're not going to go there into, we're not going to go that deep.
Yeah, let's go back to, you know.
But all I'm saying is, I think black and African are not mutually exclusive.
But I think that you have to. I don't know. I don't know. Now the woke girl from Subway is on.
Yeah, you know what it is? It's YouTube TV is on, like, I think a 25 to 30 second delay.
Okay.
Like, I remember in the 90s when my dad had the DirecTV NFL Sunday ticket package.
Yeah, it would always be delayed from Cablevision.
Right. Because, like, the local games were always blacked out. But, like, the bookie would always know what happened before he did.
Right, but so follow me here for a second. So that's where the glitch was. I don't know if you know about this, and I'm totally going to run the show from wrestling. So I want to save this story for another time.
Well, no, dude, I've watched a couple WrestleManias on my dad's DirecTV, so this ties it. So I just found the tie-in. So
right, but I'm just saying, but do you know about the betting story?
No, dude, it's commercial break. Do tell.
A commercial break. So there's a betting website in the Caribbean that hosted all of the illegal betting in the U.S. Right? It was fronted from there. So it was.
Are we beyond the statute of limitations?
Yeah, we're beyond the statute of limitations. So they had DirecTV. We had Cablevision. We're in the United States. We had like that eighth of a second advantage for knowing what was happening before the bookies locked the line. So the first play of the game would be over or under the 20-yard line. And you would be able to watch what happened if the first play went over or under the 20-yard line and then lock it in. And you would be able to beat the satellite because you were watching cable from the local
So
TV.
let me ask you a question. Why didn't they have like a time limit on when you play roulette and the guy goes, place your no more bets?
Right. Yeah. Well, that's what they have. They have that. But this was the infancy of online betting.
This is like when the internet was like the Wild West.
Right. It was now it still had cable internet, but it was the point where you had like that compact computer. It wasn't anything amazing. You had online betting. It just became like a thing. Everybody's doing the online betting in the early 2000s before jerk off Bush banned it for the Presidential Act, right? The Patriot Act. But the bottom line was that you were able to do this. So all of a sudden, people were betting $1,000, the max you can bet, betting $1,000, and then you'd have the bookie from the local pizza place pay you the money. So this was tied into you make the bet online, and then the money would come from the local, the local mob, enforcer. And so what was happening is that, first of all, they got smart because how many people bet the over-under the 20-yard line? $1,000. And now all of a sudden, 20 people are doing it and winning. So the odds right there, that turned them on. And then they shut it off after I think it happened a couple of days, right? Because you could bet all different kinds of games. They eventually shut it off. But the point of the story is, so I'm hanging out with my friend and his girlfriend. he tells his girlfriend how to put the bet in because he was watching it in the other room. He tells her how to put it in. She clicks the wrong thing, and instead of winning $1,000, he lost $1,000.
I thought you were going to tell me he won 10,000.
No, he lost $1,000. So even though that this is a sure thing, he lost $1,000.
Well, that's the thing about gambling online. Like, even some nights, I might get involved in the blackjack, and they make the buttons so easily that you could click a button by mistake.
Right. So that's what she did. She meant to click, the under. She clicked the over. She ends up losing $1,000.
And then, once you hit the button, you can't. There's no one. You can't be like, "Fuck! I made a mistake. I meant to hit the other button."
Right. There's no one doing, and then the line closed because the play then actually happened in real life. So what ended up happening was the what do you call it? And that was Kako's girlfriend at the time. So then the FDS, right, somehow managed to win $1,000, and then he ended up having to pay for Kako's losses, and that was fucked up. Did you know that story?
Wait, it was Kako's girlfriend?
Kako's girlfriend clicked the wrong button.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So Kako
must have lost his mind.
Dude, he lost his mind. You got to remember, this is at a time where he made crap money working at the pizzeria, right? You know what I mean? Like, he didn't have any money, and he clicks the wrong button, man. She clicked the wrong button, and that was it. And then FDS won $1,000,
and I'm sure he rubbed it in his face.
No, it was fucked up. It was because FDS won. Then Kako's like, bro, you gotta hook me up. I don't have the money. So he didn't even get to win the $1,000. He had to cover his debt. I don't think he ever got paid back. That was a messed up situation.
FDS gets himself into a lot of situations since he's so generous.
Yeah.
And, people don't seem to pay. I seem to be the only person that ever paid him back when I owed him significant amounts of money.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is...
Even when me and him weren't talking, I still gave him money.
Yeah, I have to say, though, that is one guy that I've never had to borrow money from. He never gave me money.
Well, the thing was, and we'll get back to the wrestling in a second, as Roman Reigns is entering the ring for what's going to be probably a good promo that I'll turn the volume up for so the audience can hear. But when I was in my 20s, my credit was shot. And he had a lot of money, and I didn't. I had no money. I had no credit. And you know what? I told him, you're my bank, and we worked out agreements. And I never, ever, even after he decided he wasn't going to be my friend for a certain amount of years, I still made sure I got my payments to him.
No, that's good, right? Because you're the only one. Everybody else F's him over, man. His fucking lifelong friend borrowed like $1,000 to $2,000.
No, it was 10.
No, 2.
No, it was 10, bro.
Yeah?
The elevator guy, you mean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was 10.
Ah, Jesus Christ. You think you pay somebody back? What kind of scumbag do you have to be? I mean,
because dude, I was so broke. I did payments. I owed him in the $1,000. I never owed him more than $2,000 or $3,000. But the only time I ever paid him back in full is when I caught a good run in AC, and I paid him back in full, no problem. I remember November 2009. I fucking went on a trip. I went to LA and then to Vegas, and I lost my shirt in the night that I called the Thanksgiving Massacre. I lost all my vacation money, right, on the Thanksgiving Massacre, and my trip was I flew to LA on Black Friday.
Oh God! So you had no money, and you flew to.
So
LA.
I had to get my vacation money from Frank, and he gave me whatever, $2,500 or something, and then on New Year's I caught this crazy run with my friend Mark. And I paid him right back in full on the spot on New Year's Eve.
No, that's pretty good. So a month later, that's pretty good. No, but I'm saying that's where he's a generous and a good person, right? I gotta think I never ever I don't think I ever borrowed money from him. We always had our own shit. You know what I mean? He would take care of me because he had all the comp and everything else. So he would always take care of me, and I was always appreciative, right? You know what I mean? So I can tell you, we had some of the best meals in AC with way too much of that comp money.
Well, let's talk about that. The audience may not know how generous the comps used to be down there.
Okay, so listen. First of all, we'd go down there. He'd have coupons for and this is again when these things were brand new. Apple.
Now, can you do me a favor? Can you please hold that thought? I just want to hear.
Sure.
SmackDown's about to end. I just want to hear what John Cena, the traitor to America, has to say.
Go ahead.
Because he supports China over Taiwan.
Because you said it with energy. You did your John Cena thing. They got excited, and
Now, Steve, can you hear that when I play that?
Yep,
Okay.
I can hear it.
It's great, right?
Now, also this guy, Roman Reigns, that's going to face John Cena, he's somehow like a distant relative of The Rock.
To misinform you, this man thinks he can pin me 1, 2, 3. Wise man, when's the last time I lost?
My tribal chief, no one has ever beaten this Roman Reigns.
Yeah, in case you didn't know, his name is Roman Reigns. Like when people ask me, who are you going to see at WrestleMania this year? I always say nobody you ever heard of because nobody's really ever heard of Roman Reigns. You know what I mean? He's not like a household name.
Right. I had no idea who he was.
Right.
Choosing and making their choice, Team Reigns or Team Cena. But I know everybody now knows that I believe that the impossible, Roman, is possible. Everybody believes this except you. You just don't get it. It's because you're the champ. You're pulling in a million different directions, but you have no idea what you're in for tomorrow. You see, I came back a month ago and everyone was excited. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I was excited when he apologized to China like he did.
I asked everybody, okay, John Cena and Roman Reigns have a match at SummerSlam. Everybody says Roman Reigns is going to win. Because John Cena is going to win the movie. The movie part is right. You win this dead wrong. Because they all know why I'm here. You just don't get it. I am here to take the championship from you, go do the movies, so you have to stay here and embarrass, shelve yourself, failure.
So I asked you to hold that thought a minute ago, Steve, and we're going to get back to that. But before you finish your thought about, we were talking about AC and how the comps were and stuff like that, I wanted to ask you, as a non-wrestling fan and someone who hasn't really followed it at all, when would you say that John Cena, because I just told you, when people ask me who's in WrestleMania this year, and I say nobody you've ever heard of, because Roman Reigns is main eventing it, right? And people really don't know who he is. He's not a household name. That's not a knock on him. It's just the truth. I'm going to ask you this question. When would you say John Cena became a household name? Because everybody knows John Cena now. So, when was the first time you heard of John Cena?
Okay.
And then I'll tell you the year that he broke out in wrestling.
Sure. So I could tell you it was my neighbor's kid. So my neighbor's kid right now would be 12 years old or 13 years old. 13 years old he would be now. So this is going back when he was probably 5, right? So what's that? 8 years ago. Are we frozen here?
No. I'm letting you do the math.
Yeah, I did the math.
Did you want me to help you with the math? I'm sorry.
Well, no, that's right. No, 8 years ago. So 2012.
Okay. And that's when he had his big feud with The Rock. So it might be due in part to The Rock also, because I say this a lot when I do my wrestling podcast. I was at WrestleMania 20 in the Garden in 2004.
Okay.
And that was the last time The Rock made an appearance in 7 years. So The Rock went out on top. Like he was The Rock was doing what was called a part-time schedule. Like he'd make a movie for like 3 months, come back to the WWE for a couple months, then go do a movie and come back. And then after WrestleMania 20, basically Vince McMahon made a bet that The Rock would fail in Hollywood and he would have to come crawling back and he'd get him for cheaper. What ended up happening was the opposite.
Right.
He blew up and became the next Sly, the next Schwarzenegger, the next whatever.
Yeah.
The next Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
And so they paid him a king's ransom to come back and work with John Cena in 2011. And so that's probably what took Cena to like that next level that made him a real household name.
Oh, look, you just got Rochambeau'd.
Because like there's a difference between being the top guy in pro wrestling and being a household name. Like everybody knows who Hulk Hogan is. Everybody knows who The Rock is.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure everybody knows who Steve Austin is.
Right. So maybe he's going to be the next. So are you saying that he might be this Roman?
No, I don't think so. Personally, I don't think he has the charisma. I think you need a certain amount of charisma to actually jump to that household name status. And I don't think he had. And I'm not knocking him. He's a great athlete. He played for Georgia Tech for football.
Right. Okay. So he is. So he's a good athlete, but he just doesn't have.
And
right?
like I said, he's a distant relative of The Rock. He was in one of The Rock's movies. I forget which one of the movies. He did like a cameo kind of role. But he could be an actor if he wants to be, just because of his proximity to The Rock. All right. So if I don't know how much longer you want to stay on, but if you are going to stay on, switch to TNT.
Which is I've got to figure out what channel that is.
I have YouTube TV, so I wouldn't know either. For you.
I know. I understand. I got to look here.
And this is going to be actually like the Good Wrestling Federation. It's called AEW. It stands for All Elite Wrestling. And so the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think his name is like Shahid Khan or something.
TNT, you said, Juice?
What was that?
TNT?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, real quick.
Oh,
I'm
no.
just going to look up. You've heard of the Jacksonville Football Jaguars, right?
Yeah, of course.
All right.
I got to reboot my cable box, and I'm not in the mood tonight.
And you're aware they have an owner, right?
Yeah.
So the name of their owner is Shahid Khan, and he's like a self-made billionaire.
Okay.
And he has a son, Tony, who's like a couple years older than me, probably like in between my age and your age.
Okay.
And he worked with like disgruntled WWE wrestlers to start their own wrestling organization.
All right.
And so this has been up and running for a year and a half. And it's not perfect. If any wrestling fan would agree with me with this. It's not a perfect product, but it's hands down much better. Hey, Steve, can you take over this show for 1 second? My cousin's calling me.
Sure.
All right. I'm going to go on mute here.
Go ahead. So since, my TV just changed, we're in the commercial break here. TV just, cable box had to be rebooted. Juice is on the phone, and I'm taking over the show. So this ought to be interesting what we're going to talk about here. I have nothing good to talk about. Cablevision sucks. That's what we could talk about. Altice, Cablevision, whatever. French company is absolutely horrible. Can't get my cable working. Gotta cancel our crap. Good, he's coming back.
All right. Did you get TNT on, or you couldn't figure it out?
No, I had to reboot my cable boxes. Telling me I'm not authorized
To watch fucking TNT is the basic channel.
That's what I said. This thing's ridiculous. That's why I had to reboot the cable box. This LT sucks. Ever since the Dolan sold Cablevision to Altice, man, his company sucks.
There's some really huge expectations for tonight's episode of AEW Rampage. So,
ladies and gentlemen,
what
a special night.
They're chanting the guy's name, so let's see what happens. Holy shit, it's true. It's fucking true. This is a really big deal. This is a really big deal for wrestling. Can you hear me? This is a huge deal for wrestling. This is great. I'm not clapping because I necessarily like this guy. I'm clapping as a wrestling fan.
So what is this news here, Juice?
Let's let it play out, but when it's done, I'll explain it. And by the way, they didn't even tease the crowd. Usually you make the crowd wait. They just gave it to you right off the bat. And that's like one of the little things that makes this a better organization. This is a huge deal in the world of wrestling. This is a really big deal. This guy's getting a crazy fucking ovation. And he's also known for what he has to say on the mic. So when he grabs the mic, we got to hear what he has to say. There's people in the crowd crying. This is ridiculous. Now I have to mute the rest of the entrance because I don't know, like the song is Living Color, Cult of Personality, so you know, the wrestling company has the song licensed to use, but I don't know if necessarily it's a good idea if I fucking let it play.
Right, which will not work out.
Even though it's just the guy's fucking entrance music. But, like, basically, so, like, when this guy was in the Indies, I got to tell you about the Indies. So, like, for those that don't have the luxury of coming up through the Orlando WWE Performance Center, you get to wrestle in the Rawway Rec Center. You get to wrestle in fucking Bumblefuck, Ohio, Bumblefuck, Tennessee, Bumblefuck, West Virginia, in front of like 15 people, like our podcast, right? This guy came up that way, and he made it to the top of the WWE. But the thing is, when you're wrestling in the Rawway Rec Center, you can come out to Cult of Personality, and you don't have to pay a royalty because it doesn't matter. But when you're in the WWE, you have to fucking pay some sort of royalty in order to come out to a song like Cult of Personality. Because it ain't free. That shit ain't free. You ever see the movie Crank? When he gives him the blow to stay awake so he doesn't die? He goes,
yeah, it's an awesome movie.
He goes, brother, that shit ain't free. And he didn't say brother. He said the other word. I said brother for the sake of the podcast, but you know what I'm talking about.
And that was when you had the Amy Smart giving him the BJ in the middle of the street.
Right. And she wouldn't finish because if he passed out after, he dies.
Yeah.
I don't think they died down the music yet. Oh, they did. All right. All right. So we're going to let the audience hear what he has to say because this is fucking huge. Oh, they went to commercial break. Talking, bro, fucking, again, it's Arby's. Again.
Arby's, we got the beef.
Hey, Steve, do me a show. Do me a show. Do me a favor. Carry the show for one more second, bro.
Boy, here we go again. Getting abandoned in his own show, man. 4-hour long stream, you know. I guess you forgot that, you know, got to take a piss. You got to, you know, people call you. You got other things to do.
Bro, these things happen, but I'm back. I'm back. Hey, I promise the Juice Heads a 4-hour extravaganza. They're going to get one. They're going to
4-hour debauchery, something.
I'm glad you joined me because I could have done this solo easily because if anybody can talk shit about wrestling for 4 hours straight, it's me. But it's easier, even with a person like you that hasn't watched wrestling since like 1987.
Right.
But again, I'm not that guy. There's podcasts out there for like instant results. There's podcasts out there for like gossip and news, you know, that has to do with wrestling. I'm just a 30-year fan that has some knowledge and I'm sort of a subject matter expert. And perhaps if I knew a little bit more about steroids, I could have gotten into it myself.
Hey, man.
I'll tell you what, I have a cousin that definitely could have been a wrestler if he wanted to be. All right, let's see what this guy's got to say. And by the way, I'll give you the backstory on this guy. You're watching TNT, right?
No, my TV doesn't work.
Well, I'll give you the backstory on this guy that's such a big deal after he's done talking.
You guys really know how to make a kid feel like Britt Baker. I'm winging this, dude. We're winging this. That's a very important distinction. We'll get back to it, but I didn't plan on what I was going to say because I didn't know what to say. Because I didn't know how I was going to feel, but I knew that I needed to feel it. And I feel you, Chicago.
If you're a wrestling fan right now, you're coming your pants.
Chicago.
So if you're who could we be talking about here, Juice? Because I don't know. I'm not a wrestling fan. I'm in suspense here.
And we got a lot to cover. There's good news and bad news. The bad news is we're not going to get to it all right here, right now. But the good news is I got the time. Wednesday, Friday, 4 Sundays or Saturdays a year. I got the time and I ain't going anywhere.
Well, Juice, listen, I got to go pack.
You got it.
I still got some stuff to take care of, so I'm gonna call it a night, bro.
All right, Steve. Well, thanks for joining us for about an hour and a half here on the 4-hour extravaganza. So, good talk to you, bro, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, right. And then, you know, I got some bunk weather maybe on Sunday down in when I'm on vacation. So if it's really bad, I'm still not. Maybe I'll call into the podcast with the Joe and you. So we'll see.
All right, yeah, call into the podcast with the Jew and me. We'll talk to you later. Thanks for being part of this.
No, there guys.
This is unprecedented.
Let me just say, I understand. If you all try to understand that I was never going to get healthy physically, mentally, spiritually, or emotionally, staying in the same place that got me sick in the first place. Can I tell you guys a story? It's hot in here. Hang on one second. Can I tell you a story? You see, I felt before like I had to leave. I didn't want to, but I knew I couldn't stay, and that was when I used to work for a place called Ring of Honor. August 13th, 2005 was my last match in Ring of Honor, and I famously came out with tears in my eyes. And walking out here today, I now know why I was crying. And it was a lot of reasons, but what it boiled down to was I had made a place where people could come work, get paid, learn their craft, and love professional wrestling. And I cried because I knew I was leaving a place that I love. And it was a home. And I knew where I was going. It wasn't going to be easy for a guy like me. Because I'm one of you. So I look at it like this. August 13th, 2005, I left professional wrestling.
And he went to sports entertainment, to Vince McMahon.
August 20th, 2021. I'm back. I sit back and I say, well, hell, they're there now, so why aren't you? Here I am. I'm back because I want to work with that young talent that had the same passion that I had stamped out. I'm back because there's a couple of scores to settle in that locker room. I'm back for the young guys.
He's not even that big.
Darby Allin!
No, I get it. Yeah.
You're good. I've seen you jump out of airplanes. I've seen you wrapped up in a body bag and chucked over the top rope. I've seen you kick down a flight of stairs, and you always come back. Just like each and every person here in Chicago, you're tough. but I'm here to help.
He was a UFC fighter.
And you're the first on the list. I'm going to help you because you're a daredevil and you like danger. Well, Darby Allin, there is nothing you can do that is more dangerous than wrestling CM Punk. And I'll see Sting, and I'll see all of you September 5th at All Out, live on pay-per-view. I'm back.
Damn! Well, that's huge. CM Punk back on pay-per-view. He's all ready to go September 5th. And the chills are running up and down my spine.
Wow. Juice heads. What do you think? Tell me.
Are you kidding
Oh,
me?
one more thing.
Oh shit, he's not
7
done.
years is an awful long time to wait for somebody. I appreciate everybody here who has waited. So on your way out of the United Center tonight, grab yourself a free ice cream bar on me.
That was a big thing. I have my cousin here who's camera shy. Kenny, do you remember the WWF ice cream bars? It would be like a fucking cookie and an ice cream bar on a stick. And it would have like Hulk Hogan and Macho Man or Ultimate Warrior on it when we were kids. They were so great. And when the most famous thing he did in the WWE, he like staged a protest, but Vince said, just say whatever you want. If you say you want me to die, just say it. Like that's what he said to him backstage. So he goes, by the way, we should bring back those ice cream bars. And like, I knew what the fuck he meant. And then the next thing he said was, oh, and another thing, this company would be better off the second that Vince McMahon drops dead. So like what he lacks in like size and like looking the part, like he makes up for it with like the fact that he's covered in ink and like he's got that persona to him. And like the key, I know you're not interested in this, but I'm doing a wrestling podcast. The key to being successful as a pro wrestler is whether you're a good guy or a bad guy, is connecting to the crowd. The worst thing that can happen to you is indifference. And that's true even in a relationship. If somebody's indifferent about you, whether it's a cousin or a girlfriend or a fiance, or if you're a wrestler trying to, be a bad guy or a good guy, if you go out there and the crowd makes no noise whatsoever and you hear crickets, sort of like my podcast right now, that means nobody gives a fuck. But if you go out there as a bad guy, or like even John Cena was like, Vince McMahon's idea of Superman, right? For like 8 years in a row. And they booed the fuck out of him. But that's a reaction. That's why he got to where he got. Because people cared enough to boo him. And that's important. Because a lot of people go out to that ring, that 20 by 20 ring, and a lot of people don't give a shit. And you know where those people go? They go back the fuck home to wherever the fuck they came from, and then they got to get a mediocre job just like I got. And they were just on national TV 2 Mondays ago. So on that note, the 4-hour extravaganza turned out to be a 2-hour and 24-minute extravaganza. I'm still very proud of it. Juice heads out there, honestly, I thought they were going to make us wait for that to the end of the show. They blew their load in the beginning of the show. So I'm glad we were all there together to experience it. Like I said, there's very exciting things coming to the JGN, the Juice Giorgio Network. This channel will be converted into the Uncommon Sense channel, which is the show that I do with the Fat Jew and Angry Steve. We're going to start Juice Giorgio Network Season 2 because we're hitting our 1-year anniversary, and it's been a great fucking year, and I have a nice highlight reel I'm preparing, nice sizzle reel, if you will. But we're going to reboot the other shows, the NFL Boycott Club, What's Trending, Morning Juice will all be rebooted into sort of one kind of a show called Juice Takes On Whatever. And if my uncle, it's an industry secret, but the Rubbing the Rhubarb show, the main guy involved in that is my uncle. I'm sure you guys know that. If he has the cojones to dust off the equipment in his garage, that'll become another channel. But we'll see if he has a penis or a vagina, like in Kindergarten Cop. And that's it. So thanks for joining us tonight. It's actually a good night for wrestling. It's a good night for wrestling. We got SummerSlam tomorrow. We had CM Punk just come back, which is very predictable. We knew it was going to happen. We just didn't know when. So it's good that it was here and now. So it's a moment we'll always share as fucking jerk-offs that like wrestling, I guess. So we'll see you next time. Actually, if the stars align, I think we're going to do this again tomorrow night for SummerSlam. And we will see you then. So until then, peace the fuck out. And remember, no glove, no love.